Everyone. My good friend Doug Dent is here, and he's going to lead us in the invocation. So you all please rise.
Let us pray. God of all life, you call us to live in community and to teach us to care for one another after the pattern of Jesus Christ, your Son, our Lord. We pray for those whose position and authority affect the lives of others. Inspire them with a vision of the community as it might be, where love of neighbor and concern for one another drive out discontent and strife, anxiety and fear. Help us all to work together with one heart and one will, with sympathy and understanding, to serve the common good, to minister to people in trouble and despair, and to multiply true happiness among all. This we ask through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's 5:30, June 5th, 2017, and I'll call this meeting of the Fergus Falls City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Here.
Yeah.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
We have a quorum. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and then we'll have a committee of the whole recap. But first, Andrew, we have a couple items that we want to add.
We do. We actually have one item to remove and one item to add this evening. First, we need to remove the dairy property. It's under new business, item number 1, the Braun Intertech proposal for the dairy property. And then we're going to add a resolution terminating the letter of intent with Mark Christofferson, and we'll do that under the Regional Treatment Center business. We'll do that right away under the RTC. It's termination of letter of intent with Mark Christofferson.
Kent is going to be here for that?
Kent Madsen will be here. Yep.
Okay. Rod, did you have something you wanted to add under the new business?
Right, the sound system, just that we consider directing staff and our sound guy to look at this a little bit.
Okay, we'll put that as a second item under new business.
Thanks.
If you talk about it. Any other items to be added to the agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Offer
as
that, Your
amended?
Honor.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Jim. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, under the committee of the whole recap, I'm going to turn over to Bill Sonmore to give us a brief recap of our meeting across the street.
So yes, as the mayor just said, we met across the street, and our auditor, Nancy Schultzenberg, she's a partner with Bergen KDV, went through our financial statements with you as a council. Reviewed 2016, that's our fiscal year end, is the calendar year end, December 31st. And overall, City of Fergus Falls is in good financial condition. She talked about, as the city as a whole, how our assets, the net value of those, net of the debt related, have consistently increased. So what that means is that we're paying off any debt sooner than those assets are wearing out. That's kind of a key thing to think about, that our infrastructure and all our assets as a whole, in relation to our debt. Talked about our general fund a little bit. That's our general operating fund of the city. Stayed fairly stable for the year. Grew just a little over $3,000. So staying flat there. And she went through the general fund, and then our various enterprise funds, the water, sewer, storm, the liquor stores, shown that those funds are doing good, that the rate increases and adjustments that you have put in place are doing what we would expect them to do, to keep those funds in the positive. One final thing to point out, we have additional liability that was recorded for the city as a whole, as well as in those enterprise funds, and that related to the PERA liability, the city's portion of that state retirement plan. And that's an accounting treatment that we need to do, is to recognize our portion of the state as a whole. So, but overall, she did tell us that we're in good financial standing, and that's certainly something we like to hear and want to always continue. So.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure we give you and your staff that work under you a lot of credit for that good financial standing that we're in.
Thank you.
It's nice to know that we can do things in this city and that we are in good financial shape, which allows us to
Yeah.
go out and get some of those things done. So thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We talked a little bit about planning in the future in terms of comparisons, asking if we might be able, is it possible we could make a note to staff that we could see what that would be to compare some of the cities with similar situations?
Yeah, so that was brought up at our Committee of the Whole, and I talked with the auditor as we were coming across the street about that. We're going to touch base. We're going to start with the list of cities that Bergen KDV audits, because they'll even have more in-depth analysis of those, and see which ones we compare to. And then if there are some other cities in Minnesota that we want to compare to, some of those other outstate regional centers, if they're not the auditor of them, we'll try to pull in some of that data as well too. So that's something we're going to connect up now after today with the auditors on that, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill. Any
Yep.
other questions of Bill?
Good job, Bill.
Good job.
Thank you.
There are no public hearings this evening. Under E, the awarding of bids. We will need a resolution awarding a bid for public improvement 5953 Junius Avenue Street Improvement Project. City Engineer
Yes.
Brian Uvarro, would you like to explain this to us?
Yes, thank you, and good evening. Last Thursday, June 1st, sealed bids were opened for Public Improvement 5953, Junius Avenue Street and Utility Improvement Project, generally located from Cascade Street to Sheridan. A total of 6 bids were submitted at the time of the opening. Keekly Underground Incorporated was the apparent low in the amount of $658,043.63. The engineer's estimate was $760,000. Moore Engineering, who's been retained to help with the administration of this contract, has validated the bids. Therefore, with the construction contract contingencies, design and administration costs incurred already, and some additional soft cars, I'm estimating the total project cost is approximately $850,000. This project is projected to be completed this fall and final wiring to be installed spring of next year. Because of the amounts shown there, I've also, with the budgetary impacts, is proposed as previously to supplement this through a water fund, sanitary fund, and storm fund according to the bid prices.
Thank you, Brian.
So I'm requesting award of the construction services contract at Keekly Underground in the amount of $658,043.63.
We will need a resolution to do that.
I'll offer that.
Jim, thank you.
I'll second that.
Darren, thank you. Second. I have a question, Brian. Do you have any thoughts on why it's such a good bid? It's $102,000 under the, are we going to get good bids like that all summer, hopefully?
It's been a confluence of things, oil prices, availability of contractors, work slowing down generally out in North Dakota. A lot of these contractors did go out, but it's a lot of varying degree why we could be.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Any other questions of Brian? If not, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Brian. Resolution is approved. Next item on the agenda, under petitions and communications, we will have a presentation from Gate City Neighborhood Impact Program. Mr. Sean Sullivan.
Sean Sullivan, 1003 North Vine, Fergus Falls. Mr. Mayor, council members, thanks for having me here tonight. My name is Sean Sullivan. Like I said, I'm the office manager at Gate City Bank here in Fergus Falls, and we are pleased to announce the City of Fergus Falls Neighborhood Impact Program. This program was established for Fergus Falls homeowners to encourage the preservation of homes and add to the long-term value and life of their property and the neighborhoods that they are in. Gate City is excited to have the opportunity to provide $1 million to the Fergus Falls Neighborhood Impact Program. Now, a cornerstone of Gate City's mission is to serve and give back to our customers and to connect with our communities. And we're just so thankful for this opportunity to help build a better quality of life for the city of Fergus Falls. Now, it's my understanding that some of this information has already been presented to the City Council.
No, I do not believe so.
It's in our package.
It's in the packet, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right,
We haven't
all right.
talked about it prior.
So at this time, I'll take any questions that you have.
questions of Sean? Sean, let's talk about just a little bit, I mean, it's
Yeah.
in there, but just so the general public.
Right.
So we're gonna have a Wednesday morning at 9:30 in the City Hall lobby. We're
Right.
gonna kinda have the welcome rollout, we'll have some coffee, cookies, and I
Exactly.
understand we're gonna have a big
Big
check for $1
giant-
million.
big giant
I've never
check,
had a
yep,
$1 million
gotta do
check
that.
before, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Doesn't say payable to Ben check.
And the terms on
Right.
the, on this program are between now and October 1st of 2017,
Right,
correct?
right, yeah, we put an end date of October 1st, very generous terms for Fergus Falls residents. The rate is 2.25% interest rate on a 10-year fixed loan, up to $50,000. And that's a full 2 to 2.5% lower than a conventional loan of that type, so.
And just, maybe just to highlight some of so the general public watching on
Right.
TV. So it's available to homeowners in single residence homes built before 1990, correct?
Correct. Single resident homes in the city, in the municipal boundaries of Fergus Falls, built before 1990, with a value of less than $250,000. And the intent of the program is to provide improvements like new shingles, siding, windows, those types of things, foundation work, really to improve the quality of the housing stock in the community.
I'm really looking forward to the program.
Yeah.
2.26%, 10 years.
APR, yep.
All right. Any questions for Sean?
I have a question, Your Honor.
Yes, Rob.
Is this something that is typical of Gate cities in other communities of this size? Or-
Thank you. Yes, we have launched this in other communities. It's been going on in the Fargo-Moorhead area for a while. It's also been done in Wapaton.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
All right.
I suppose it would be good, Sean, to have some kind of feedback, so we can encourage people if people aren't signing up. I mean,
Right.
I think it's an admirable thing you're doing. I think we want to encourage as many people to do it.
Yeah, I think
As
so
we can.
too. Yep. Yep, Gate City Bank's committed to help support with marketing and things like that too, so.
So I also like to invite anyone on the city council who wants to join us, 9:30, City Hall lobby, Wednesday, June 7th, 9:30 a.m. You'll be there, Sean?
Yep, be there and
Cookies
some
and coffee, right? Or is that?
cookies and coffee,
Okay.
yep.
So anyway, council members, general public is welcome to come at that time and
Yep.
learn more about us. All right. Thanks a lot. I look forward to
Right.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Next item on the agenda is a proclamation, Relay for Life, and there's a copy of the proclamation in your packet that will be read in its entirety June 15th, a week from Friday out at the kickoff of their event. But I'm just going to highlight, whereas the West Otter Tail County region of the American Cancer Society is specifically holding the Relay for Life event in order that funds may be raised to support programs and develop treatments and cures for all forms of cancer. Now therefore, I, Ben Shire, Mayor of the City of Fergus Falls, do hereby proclaim June 11th through the 17th, 2017 as Relay for Life Week in the City of Fergus Falls. Looking forward to that good event as well. And the third item under petitions and communications, I'm excited about this one, is a presentation of a walk-friendly community award, and I'm going to call on Mr. Dave Sanderson to explain this to us.
Oh, good evening. I'm Dave Sanderson, and with me is Eric Johnson, and we are the co-chairs of Pedal Fergus Falls, our local bike and pedestrian advocacy group. Earlier this year, we completed an application for Fergus Falls to be designated as a walk-friendly community. And this was done through a walk-friendly community program, which is run by the UNC, University of North Carolina Highway Safety Research Center. And the program is sponsored by Federal Express and the Department of Transportation. And basically their mission is to recognize communities who are committed to improving walkability and pedestrian safety. And so about 2 months ago, we received a call from Dangeline, who heads up this program, and we're pleased to find out that Fergus Falls is designated a walk-friendly community at the bronze level. This is very similar to the bike-friendly community program, where they have levels of bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and so on. And we did receive that award about 1.5 years ago. Now, this program has only been around for 7 years, started in 2011, and since then they've designated only 63 communities nationwide as walk-friendly communities, and we were only one of only 7 this year nationwide to get this award. And 2 other communities in Minnesota have gotten it previously. Rochester as a bronze, and Minneapolis a silver award a couple years ago. So I think it really speaks highly to our community, about our community and what we're doing here. And I just want to thank Mayor Shire, the council, all the city staff for everything that you've done and continue to do to make Fergus Falls a walk-friendly community. I just thought I'd just mention a few things that are happening right now that I think are pretty exciting. The Riverfront Downtown Master Plan, which eventually will extend the River Walk out to the west. The Glacial Edge Trail Master Plan, which is in the works, and that will involve putting in a paved multi-use trail throughout the whole community to connect the Central Lakes Trail with trails to the north. Also, the Downtown Fergus Falls Walkability Project, which Partnership for Health is doing, and they're working with several businesses to encourage people to walk more. And finally, our local Minnesota Water and Prairie chapter of the North Country Trail Association has done a tremendous amount of work. They've completed a 9.8-mile trail, hiking and walking trail around and in the city. So I think there's a tremendous amount going on, and we're thankful for everything that you folks are doing. So at this time, we have an award that we would like to present.
Thanks to Pedal Fergus Falls. This is great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, there's no open forum this evening. Under the consent agenda, there's you have a copy of the consent agenda items in your packet. It's also on the screens for the public to see. Are there any of those items that anyone would like to see removed and discussed separately? Anthony?
Could I remove I think it's number 4, the resolution approving budget adjustments?
Number 4, yep. You know, I think, let's go ahead and remove number 5 too. I know there's a number of people in the audience, so let's just make that one separate and official. So let's remove number 5 as well. Any others? If not, is there a resolution to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that, Your Honor.
Items 4 and 5.
I'll second it.
Scott, thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 The resolution is approved. Item number 4 is a resolution approving budget adjustments. Did you have a question on that, Anthony?
I had a question for Mr. Somno, seeing as he's doing a wonderful job this evening, full of speech. It was more, at what point are we going to separate the library funds out and get the money from West Central? What's the timeline and plan on that?
So that timeline is separate from these budget adjustments. So I'll briefly talk about these and with that.
You brought up the library.
What's that?
You brought up the library.
I brought up the library. So the budget adjustments here that include those are those ongoing donations that go directly to the library fund to buy books and materials. The Friends Group covers different costs, so that's what that adjustment is. As far as like the West Central Initiative, once we get the project moving forward now, break ground, and then we'll lay that out as we put in our financing package as well, because we are going to do this library project, and then we have so much of funds on hand. We have well over $1 million here in the city funds, and then there's the funds with the West Central Initiative Foundation. Well, we're certainly not going to bond for money that we have on hand, so we'll be working with them at that time, and so I see that really happening here in 2017 as we get the project rolling and start putting those funds to work, and then we'll bond for the remainder that we'll need to do that entire project. Does that answer your question?
So do you have a timeline on when your kind of sources will come together?
We're going to actually probably start kicking that off with either the next council meeting or the following one, where we start coming to you with that financing plan calendar. The day after the legislature approved sales tax, we started working with our bond consultant and our bond attorney, starting to lay out that calendar. So we're already working on that, and we'll be bringing that to you to start looking at what that calendar looks like and get your approval to set sale dates for those bonds, all of that. So
Thank you, Bill.
you bet.
With that, I'll make the resolution to,
Thank you, Anthony. Is there a second? Rod, thank you. Any other questions? If not, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 The resolution is approved. And number 5, I just wanted to pull that because here I have it in my hand, it's a resolution approving the local option sales tax for the Fergus Falls Public Library. And after 4+ years of hard work from a lot of people in this community, I can't wait to sign this thing tomorrow morning. So I just want to thank you. Someone else, who wants to offer this? Jim? I'll offer it. Brent, thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Resolution is approved. Under ordinances and resolutions, we need a resolution approving the 2016 audit report that we went over. Anthony, don't encourage Bill too much. So we don't go over this audit report again.
I'll make that resolution.
I brought it with if you want me to go through it again.
Kyle is saying yes, please.
Second that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any questions of Bill?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'd just like to add that, as an endorsement, the city's accounting staff do a good job and keep us on the straight and narrow, and that's kind of always good to be on the right side of the street. So thank you, Bill and Co.
I echo that. Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Resolution is approved. Under presentation of claims, tonight we have claims in the amount of $2,305,116.24. And we will need a resolution to pay those claims.
I'll offer that, Your Honor.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Darren. Scott, if there's any questions, we'll direct them to our finance director, Bill Sawmore. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Resolution is approved. Under board, committee, and department reports, first item is a resolution approving a variance for John and Donna Burns, allowing the construction of an accessory garage in the front yard in lieu of constructing in the rear 1/3 of a lot in an R1 zone. April?
Good evening, Mayor, council member. The Board of Zoning reviewed this request and felt that they should grant this as it met the 3 practical difficulty tests. Also similar to some requests that have been granted on Brenby Drive as well. The lot and application here, just so that you're aware of proximity, is this lot right here on the edge of city limits. They're planning on constructing a garage in this area 30 feet back from the property line. And they're on the lake.
And the Board of Zoning recommended this unanimously. Any
Yes.
questions of April? Not, do we have a resolution?
I'll offer that, Your Honor.
Thank you, Darren.
I'll
Jim? Thank you, Jim. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Resolution is approved. Second item is a resolution approving an after-the-fact variance for Craig Samp, allowing the placement of an accessory structure shed not to exceed 200 square feet in the south side yard in lieu of the constructing in the rear 1/3 of a lot in an R4 zone.
Correct. So
April?
pictures will do this application a little bit better than normal. This is right across from our community arena. This is an after the fact variance request. They are just going to have approval of the detached accessory structure not to exceed 200 square feet. Limitation on a garden shed only is granted in this variance in the south side yard in lieu of the rear 1/3. Again, the Board of Zoning felt that all practical difficulty tests were met in this application and recommended approval of this request.
Well, I got a question. Do we differentiate between permanent and non-permanent? That could be construed as portable?
That's why they changed the verbiage in there, as an accessory structure shed not to exceed 200 square feet. And you could add in there the word non-permanent. Because the concern was from the neighboring property that if a garage was put there permanently, that it could encroach onto their property, where right now there is flexibility to move when the tenant moves with this, from this property, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions of April?
On the after the fact applications, do they pay a higher fee?
They double their fee.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not,
I'll offer it.
Scott, thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Brent. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Resolution is approved. Item number 3 is another after-the-fact variance by Lauren Ricken, allowing a reduced setback of 2 feet in lieu of the setback, required 5-foot side yard setback along the west side lot line, and to deny a detached placement of accessory structure in the front yard within 20 feet of the north front line located at 205 West Fur Avenue. April?
And again, I'll just go over this. The applicant had asked for an accessory structure to be placed in the side yard. As you can see, there's a fence there and there's a trailer. So where that trailer is sitting, which is not in compliance with our city ordinances, I'll point that out right now, they were asking to put a detached accessory structure there. And the Board of Zoning felt that it would affect sightlines for traffic coming on First Fur Avenue. But they did feel comfortable granting the variance for a reduced setback along the westerly lot line. And here, they started a construction project without a permit. This is what brought our attention to this property. Again, this is after the fact. There is an existing deck that starts right about here, which is within the 2-foot setback from the property line already. So it would be correcting the issues. So the Board of Zoning made the recommendation to grant the reduced setback of 2 feet on the westerly lot line and deny approval of the detached accessory structure along the north lot line.
Any questions of April? Rod?
Just a question on the 2-foot setback. So the neighbors are not bothered by that?
There was notices sent out to a 350-foot radius from this property, which was about 45 notices, and no comments, concerns were brought forth by the neighbors. HRA actually owns this property, so I did visit with them, and they had no concerns as long as it was constructed to code.
HRA owns the property on which you are, the variance or the other one?
The other one.
The other one,
The
right?
other
The
one.
one that's, that would probably have the most concern about the reduced setback.
Okay. So if there's no other concerns, then really,
Right. So.
no problem, huh?
So the Board of Zoning is bringing forth the recommendation to approve the after-the-fact variance by Lauren Ricken to allow the reduced setback of 2 feet in lieu of the required 5-foot side yard along the westerly lot line and
Yeah.
deny.
Your Honor, one other question. And Gordon, you could maybe ask, in the history of when we do this, how often do we grant, I mean, this isn't like a 1 foot, this is a fairly substantial edge, to me, change, in the setback. How often have we done this on a lot line in Fergus Falls, or?
Not often. We're most concerned on those setbacks on the back and side yards where there's an existing house. Yeah, this one here.
Yeah.
Not very often, but since there was no opposition to it and it's the HRA property and they were not concerned about it, it's not unlikely that they have made this choice as a Board of Zoning.
But you don't do it very often?
Not very often, though.
Do you remember doing it in your history?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but that's 30-some years, so, yeah.
You're bragging or complaining? All right.
Rod?
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Rod.
Second. Whoever.
Second from Anthony. Any further questions? If not, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Thanks,
Resolution is approved. Thank you, April. Item number 4 is a 2018 through 2022 capital improvement plan. Gordon, are you going to speak to that?
Well, normally what happens with the capital improvement plan, it's accepted by the council and they pass it on to the budget committee.
The tax levy committee?
Yeah, tax
Budget-
levy.
budget.
Again, no public participation. No one came in, no one took any copies. I think there were a few people scanning copies of it in the lobby, but that was and that's not atypical.
Yes, Rod.
Your Honor, we ranked some projects a while back, which would be in this genre, this capital improvement, as a council in a special session or special retreat time. And I believe it's been suggested that we take a look at this again and with some other rubrics, we might add to look at what's really prioritized. So I'm wondering as we go about this, are we getting a chance to talk about this in another venue, Your Honor? Or?
Yeah, I was thinking that same thing. As we start to ramp up the tax levy committee, I'm wondering if there's some time we can take in a committee of the whole, maybe in the next, and I don't know what the schedule is, but in the next 2 to 3 committee of the wholes, just carve out some time to just go over this and go back to,
Sure.
go back to the discussions we had in February and the
Right.
year prior, and then just kind of where these do fit in, and maybe Gordon, you can
Yeah,
address it at that time.
and Brian and I. One thing to know, we've been doing this since 1960, I almost said 1863, 1963. And so it's a well, I guess, rehearsed process.
Right, Your Honor.
Yes.
And I just wondered if we could also include with that, there was about 10 rubrics suggested that I think it was sent out to the council, that we could include that in the meeting so we talk about both how we measure the value of these projects going forward with the numerous ones we have, as well as, what they are.
Sure, that'd be good. I think that was sent out, but I don't think it's been discussed. That'd be a good time to
Okay.
discuss that as well.
Thank you.
So we could put it up against this document, so. Do we need a motion to accept the capital improvement plan?
Yeah, why don't you have a motion to refer the issue to the committee of the whole for further discussion?
Yep, I'll make that.
Motion?
Yep.
Rod?
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Gordon. Amy Baldwin is going to talk to us about an update on the aquatic recreation feasibility study.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Sorry, first one to use the keyboard this evening. All right. As you mentioned, here tonight to provide an update on the Family Aquatic Recreation feasibility study that was kicked off in February. And to start, I'll just give a little background on where we got to today. There's also a committee member here tonight who can share a few words from the committee's perspective on the progress that's been made to date. As you recall, back in January, the City Council authorized entering into a contract with U.S. Aquatics and to conduct this feasibility study with a committee. And since that point, there has been a really committed group of folks meeting to advance the work of that study, and listed on the screen here is the committee members as they stand and kind of the representation on the group as a whole. So overall, the tasks that were outlined by as part of the study are including a couple of key ones that are underway, I would say both, and then so I'll kind of walk through where we're at today, what we've done related to these tasks, and then kind of what's to come next. So assisting the city with the online survey, which is underway right now, and we do have another week that survey will be open. We've received well over 1,000 responses. Last count was over 1,300, and word is still getting out on that survey, so we'd encourage everyone who has an interest in this topic to please go online and take that survey. We do have hard copies available if needed at City Hall and at the library. So we've pushed out promotion a lot through social media, and that's where it has been shared a lot and spread through various social networks.
And if they go to City Hall, City of Fergus Falls main website page, they'll be able to find the survey there, a link to the survey there, correct?
The link got pushed, so we'll push it back up tomorrow morning, though, right to the front page. But it is just the city website /aquatic, and that'll bring you to that main page. So, but we'll make sure it gets right back on that main page again. So we will get that done, and again, encourage people to get it out. We did send it out. Thank you to Coopers for providing copies of a flyer that went out to the kindergarten through 6th grade students in Fergus Falls prior to school being out. It was done a couple weeks ago. Gotten out to the students there to really hit that target population. And again, Coopers provided those copies of the survey free of, or of the flyer related to the survey free of charge to us. So that was really, really generous of them to do that. So we were able to get that out with their support. And again, I mentioned there's a poster at the library as well as hard copies if people aren't able to use, have access to the technology, or the library staff is willing to help a finite number, because you can only take the survey once from a computer. So that is a challenge that we talked about at the library, that they can try to help folks, but once a survey has been taken from one of their public computers, a second person shouldn't be able to take it from there. So, but they do have hard copies if there is any challenges there, and we do have hard copies at City Hall for that. So don't want people to feel they have to take it via technology if they're not able to do. As I mentioned, the survey will be open until the 12th of June, which is next week. And then following that, the committee will start meeting, or will meet again. They've been meeting, like I said, on a monthly basis to talk about the next steps. And through the process so far, there has been coordination with the downtown and riverfront master plan process. We've engaged directly with the consultants in both the processes. They've talked to each other directly about sites as we moved into that, an initial site analysis process of identifying and evaluating possible sites. And that process will continue to evolve as more knowledge is learned about what the community's wants and needs are related to this. And but there was a large matrix, just as example. This was one site that was looked at, that looked at all those pieces from site configuration, ownership opportunity, co-amenities, site amenities that it provided. This one did not rank high, so that can be as example. This was Roosevelt Park, but and one person's evaluation. So there was multiple evaluations done on a number of sites that were identified, and those numbers can be gone back to. So we have this core data now that are linked in a matrix and connected spreadsheets. So if we want to update, provide more preference to existing parking that could be shared, for instance, that's one of them. We can certainly do that as, again, more knowledge is learned, or if a site changes, from an availability standpoint, or if something changes as we work through this process on a site, we can give further consideration to it through this process. So again, the next step will be to move forward with the feedback that's been received, and kind of move into those next steps that were outlined previously, as far as determining, having more public input on a concept, assuming that the feedback received is that there is a desire for such a facility in the community. So I'd be happy to answer questions, or invite Bridget Leonard, who's been a really active and key part of this process, up to share any words on her experience so far.
Any questions of Amy? Amy, Bridget, Bridget, if you wanted to say anything, you're more than welcome to. Or maybe just want to touch on the timeline of the committee going forward, and when you think some of these things might happen.
Well, we'll be meeting survey closes the 12th, the week of the 19th, the committee will be meeting again. And we haven't seen any of the data. It's been all being collected by the consultants. So, it'll be really, they'll be digesting that information and bringing it back to the committee to review at that next meeting. And then based on that, we'll be developing the next steps. So our goal would be to have, again, assuming that there's desire for a facility, we would be coming forward in the next several months with additional public input, open house, feedback on some concepts.
In the contract with the consultant, is that through the survey? And there would be a next phase? How far are they?
So we've really just hit, well, they're not in chronological order, but we've done bullet number 1, we're in process with that. And then as we move down, identify and evaluate possible sites. Those are the 2 points that we've really focused on so far. And then the rest will come based on the feedback from the survey and others. We'll have those public forums, prepare concepts.
And that's all within the current contract?
Correct, yep,
Okay.
yep, all that's within the contract.
Your Honor? Question. As far as the CAC and the planning we're doing downtown, integration of this survey, I know they're used to doing standalone, studies like this. As we integrate that, what's the timeline on that, integrating what this is with what we're doing in the master planning?
Well, I'm not exactly sure the question. We're working with them concurrently right now. I mean, they're not, as I'm a staff liaison to both projects, they're, being talked about. We looked at potential opportunity sites in that initial review of areas within the study area that would have opportunity was more of the beyond public-owned sites. We looked at opportunity sites in the downtown and riverfront master planning process that would meet minimum acreage requirements for a basic, not a basic, but a smaller typed facility, up to, certainly could go on beyond, or what co-location opportunities were there. And there was a few that were looked at, and they're still in, so we have the analysis done on them. But, I guess we'll see what the results of the survey are. That's really our next key point, that we need to get that feedback.
Right,
and digest it.
I was referring, I think, specifically to just the sharing that first with the order that would happen, and sharing it with the community advisory group and
certainly,
the council, so that we can integrate that in our thinking and be aware of what the study really is showing us.
Yeah, well, we're in pretty early
and
phases
so what
right now.
would be the date about on that, Amy? That we'd be able to
We
see
get our
the
survey
data as a
results.
community advisory council and, start.
We get the survey results the week of the 19th.
Okay.
So that would be the earliest that this committee would see them. We're looking at scheduling a next community advisory committee prior to the open house in July. So within that 3 to 4 week period before the downtown and riverfront master plan open house on July 13th. So someplace prior to there'll be a community advisory committee for the downtown and riverfront master plan scheduled.
And that's when we could look at the data.
We can bring information
I just
there,
want to
yeah.
suggest that we get that, so we have it on time to integrate. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and, it'll just be survey data at that point, though. There won't be a
good stuff.
concept. There won't be a
Right.
concept developed. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Bridget, for all the good work on that committee. 1,300 survey responses. That's obviously, there's a lot of people
So
that are
far,
excited
yep.
about this.
Yep,
in the
I'll let
community.
Bridget touch on that.
I don't have anything prepared whatsoever, but I do just want to take the opportunity to thank the council for just going along on this study and hiring U.S. Aquatics, because I feel very good about our committee and them doing their due diligence and really taking time and thinking this through. And we've been extremely impressed with U.S. Aquatics and how comprehensive their system is. We have decided as a committee that none of us are pool experts, and none of us want to be pool experts, but we have hired the very best to do this. And so we feel really good about that, and that they're going to lead us in the right direction. So thanks for your support. We appreciate it. And we feel good about the energy in the community and the push toward family recreation. So we're excited about what the survey tells us and what the community really wants out of that. Because I know, as having a young family and working with children in our community, that there is a desire for more of this. So thanks for your support.
Thanks, Bridget. I know, Bridget, I know you're passionate about this subject, and you're persistent too. I remember you called in 2007, and you said this is something we need to get started. And the timing wasn't right, but the time is right now. So thank you for all of your.
That was the year I moved to town.
Bridget's mom helped get a pool going in. Which community was
Appleton, Minnesota.
it? Appleton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ben.
Thank you. All right. Amy's going to give us an update on the revolving loan fund, CS Properties LLC.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, council members. So changing topics here, I'll actually have two updates to provide tonight. So the first one, CS Properties LLC, I did send out preliminary information on this one because they were ready to move and move quickly. So we wanted to make sure we were being business friendly and then also informing the council of this loan request as it came forward, and the loan did ultimately close last week. So we were very pleased that we were able to support the business in their acquisition. So the LLC CS Properties has been formed by 59 Finishers, which is currently located out on Pebble Lake Road outside the city limits. And they've really been expressing a need for expansion for some time, but a right-sized expansion for them. And the property came available earlier this year at 1605 First Avenue North, the former Go Float facility, if folks remember that operation here. And it was really just a great opportunity for them to grow their business. It's, was founded by two partners that started out on a part-time basis, and this being kind of a side operation for them, and it has grown into what's really a full-time endeavor for each of them. And this facility will allow them to expand their operations, have more efficient operations. That's really a big part of it. They've got some really big inefficiencies because of their space right now, and this is really going to help them. So how we supported them in this property acquisition is by providing a $74,000 loan with a 10-year amortization and a 2% interest rate on that loan, and in partnership with American Federal Bank, who is the primary lender on that project. So I'm happy we're able to support them and that growing manufacturer here in town. They provide support to our other manufacturers, so it's really important that we help them grow so that they can help our other manufacturers also continue to have success. So happy to answer any questions on that particular loan.
Any questions, Amy, on that one? Thank you, Amy. Next is an update, similar update on revolving loan fund with Salon True.
Yes, so this is was a new application that we received an initial inquiry last week, and we did add it to the agenda when the new agenda was distributed. So we're happy we were able to meet that, again, to meet the needs of a fast-paced application process and ready to make a move. So currently, Salon True is located in the lower level of an existing building here in town, but they plan to purchase and construct a new salon and day spa at 2045 Fir Avenue East. And so it's across from Lakeway Market, just to give some perspective of that. Currently a vacant lot, and so they are again looking to expand their operations and their offerings that they have currently and grow their business and bring new tax base to the community. And so they've asked us to help support that. Their primary lender is Security State Bank for that process, and they're also anticipating working with West Central Initiative on a portion of that financing. Again, it's utilizing the Minnesota Investment Fund pool of dollars, and that's just as a reminder, I didn't mention it in the last report, but that's dollars that we received from the state of Minnesota that were from loans made to businesses from state money. As those loans are repaid, a portion of those loans are recaptured locally. So they were monies originally received from the state of Minnesota that we're now able to lend out, and this would be another qualified project for that pool of dollars. And that kind of summarizes what we're looking at for this project too. So any questions on this one? They do probably plan to close. They weren't sure on the closing. That's why we wanted to make sure we were ahead of the game a little bit on this one, but they are looking probably July for a closing on this property.
Did you say the amount on that one, Amy?
$74,000
That's
as well.
74 as well.
Yeah.
Any other questions of Amy on that one? Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Next item under reports from staff will be an update on public improvement 8199, which is the Woodland Heights Water Main Extension.
Yes, thank you. Before you is just a project update in regards to public improvement 8199, Woodland Heights Water Main Extension Project. Last fall, J&J Earthworks out of Millbank, South Dakota was awarded the construction services contract. Since then, the final completion was scheduled for this spring. They have completed the work and done the required testing. On May 11th, we sent out notification letters to the Phase 1 boundary. It's described, I don't have it in the presentation, but in the packets, considered the blue area is the new defined expansion of the high-pressure zone from the Cleveland Avenue water tank. In general, I've heard a lot of positive results. The average PSI rating ranged from 20 to 30 PSI, and generally the pressure increase was instantly noticeable and very much appreciated. So at this time, that's consistent of Phase 1. Phase 2, if initiated by the council, would require the installation continuance of this water main fartherward to the east to the Brenvie area. So. Any questions?
Brian, any questions of Brian? Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Under old and unfinished business, first we'll have an update from Kent on the letter of intent agreement to develop the RTC campus.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Earlier today, we had some communications with staff and Mark Christofferson regarding the current status of his project, which is under due diligence under the letter of intent that was entered into in March of this year. It became known probably last week that Mark and his group were looking at canceling, for want of a better phrase, the letter of intent based upon the status of their project not being able to meet some of the deadlines that were upcoming. So today we talked to Mark further and developed a agreement to formally terminate the letter of intent so that the city could technically be free and clear of that letter of intent, including the exclusivity component to it. Mark wanted to thank the mayor, the council, and staff members for their support in his rekindled interest in developing the project. But there were too many uncertainties right now for him and his group to carry on forward with it. And so he was willing to back away from it. He did indicate that if the city, in driving forward with a plan to come up with an alternative arrangement, would want him to consider some things or coming back to the table, that he would consider that. But right now, he would let the city drive the process versus he and his development group driving the process. This afternoon, he stopped by, reviewed the letter of intent cancellation. He actually signed it and wanted me to mention tonight that he signed it, and the city, if it's acceptable to the council, would countersign the agreement, and that would terminate the letter of intent formally. But one way or the other, Mark and his group are able to terminate it and walk away from their interest in the property.
Thank you, Kent. Any questions? Kent?
Make that motion.
Is it a resolution?
Is it a resolution? I'll make that resolution.
Anthony? Is there a second?
Yeah.
Rod? Any other questions for Kent? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Thank you, Kent. Next item under the Regional Treatment Center is a resolution authorizing staff to order and prepare plans and specifications to proceed with EAWs for the demolition of tunnels, Building 32, which is a laundry building, Building 30, which is a powerhouse, the transformer, Building 11, and the connectors of east and west attached to the main horseshoe structure. And Andrew, did you want to talk to that?
Yes, Your Honor, members of the council. As you all know, we had a $2 million bonding gift in this year's bonding bill, and we were successful in getting that $2 million back, which was the grant that expired at the end of last year. And looking forward to our 2018 bonding request, we need to begin to spend this money towards our goal. Knowing that the bonding committee is going to be touring the site in July or August, it's prudent that we begin to move forward with spending the money so we can begin to prepare, like I said, for next year's request. We have previously done the EAW on the tunnels, and those will be ready to be removed this summer, but staff is recommending that we get the authorization to order plans and specs on these buildings as mentioned, and to begin working with SHPO on the EAWs and beginning to put this plan in place. So tonight we're looking for the authorization for the plans and specs, and then we will come back with that and ask for authorization to bid if we move forward. If you look at the memo that City Engineer Brian Yvarro prepared in regards to Phase 1, the engineer estimate on these costs is $2,040,000. As I mentioned on the outset, we have $1.99 million. So obviously, the funds we have likely won't cover the projected costs, but what I envision is we bid out the cost of demolition of these buildings, and then we can take an a la carte type approach and decide which buildings or tunnels or whatnot are the most prudent to come out and award the bids based on what that dollar amount is. So that's the action we're looking for tonight, is just the authorization to move forward with those buildings and preparing plans and specs for their demolition.
Andrew, is that something that Stantec prepare those specs for us in conjunction with Brian Yvarro? Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, members of the council, Stantec would work with us on preparing the plans and specs.
Your Honor, clarification on the motion, or on the resolution. I understood at one point that we were going to at least look at the cost of demoing that administration add-on on the front, the wart on the front of the administrative building.
Yeah, we do have estimates on that.
We do
Brian has-
already.
Brian has estimates on all the buildings.
Okay, so that could be in the mix, is what I'm asking, even if it's not in the resolution?
I think what we'll do, Rod, is under B,
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about this phased approach, which talks about each of the individual buildings and how we kind of go about
Right.
which ones.
Your Honor, Councilmember Speedhall, if you're wanting to include that building to explore and prepare the plans and specs, you could make that as part of the resolution.
I would like to amend this, since that would be, I think, wise to do it now, even whether we do it or not. I would like to amend it to add that to that list and then proceed that way.
So would you offer resolution?
I would offer
amendment?
that, yeah.
To include building number 2.
Building number 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
A resolution authorizing staff to order and prepare plans and specifications and to proceed with the EAWs for the demolition of the tunnels, Building 32, Building 30, transformer, Building 11, and the connecting tunnels to east and west detached, and main horseshoe structure, and Building number 2. I would make that resolution.
I think Rod already did, but I'll take a second.
I read it, he didn't.
Your Honor, I guess we should point it out on the map which buildings we're referring to. And, with Lynn's help, maybe we could, buildings 30 and 32 are those buildings in the back that are in gray right there. The transformer is close by, that little pink square right next to 32. The building 11 is the pink building in the back. The connectors of east and west attached are those little hallways that originally connected the east and west attached to the main structure. And then obviously building 2, as Councilmember Speedall indicated, is that green one right in the front there next to the tower.
Your Honor, Building 11, is that the old carpentry? What is that, the old workshop?
It's a garage.
Garage. Okay.
Where they had the greenhouses, right?
Yeah.
So, and just, maybe just so the public knows too, this will start the process, and through the EAWs is when SHPO will have an opportunity to comment, and we'll begin that dialogue and discussion with SHPO, is that correct?
Your Honor, yes, we would make our intentions known to SHPO with this action tonight, and then they would likely indicate that we need to complete EAWs, which we're fully anticipating, and then they would be included in that process.
We have a resolution and a second. Is there further discussion? Gene, would you like to speak to this before we vote? Please.
Eugene Schmidt, 524 Woodland Drive. I would like you to reconsider the fact of demoing the connecting wings. The one connecting the west detached to the rest of the building is very historical. It was built in 1893, according to Minnesota's history report that they put out before the building was sold. And both of them are very historical. If they want isolation, they could be very easily blocked off from one or the other. I'd like to have you reconsider taking that off the demo list. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, Gene. And just to be clear, through this process, yourself, SHPO, people will get a chance to comment. Before we actually go back and approve anything, we're just gonna have the numbers, and then we'll be able to get down to the bottom of what SHPO thinks, what the public thinks, and before we make any decisions of actually what we're gonna demo or not gonna demo. So this is not saying that those are gone, Gene. This is just saying we're gonna get the plans and specs, and we'll get the comments from SHPO as historical significance.
I realize this is all plans, but
Sure.
I thought I should inform you.
Very well. I
Thank you.
appreciate it, Gene. Thank you.
Thanks, Gene.
Real quickly, Your Honor, I'll mention the rationale behind removing those. Staff feels that east and west detached and the other portion of the structure would be more likely for redevelopment if this were to take place. And working with our last developer, which we just terminated, we ran into several issues concerning legal descriptions if you were to parcel off portions of the building that were connected like that. Common spaces, who's in charge of maintaining those and paying for those, and then also just the simple fact of acquiring insurance for the property. If there's multiple users under one connection, there's certainly a huge liability from an insurance standpoint. So that's what's driving the decision to explore disconnecting or deconnecting those buildings, just because they make it hard to redevelop with multiple users, and like I mentioned, we feel that standalone buildings are easier to redevelop.
Thank you, Andrew. Is there any? Okay, go ahead, Cody. And then we're gonna vote on this because we have another topic to discuss here.
All right. Cody Sunvor, 950 West Summit. As you guys know, I am representing Charles No and Bernard Hotels International, and I'm just gonna let you guys in on some information and some updates with Charles. He actually purchased out the rest of Hilton Worldwide, which is Hilton Hotels. He owns it all nationally and internationally now. And he's also interested in purchasing the whole complex as a whole in itself. And he has 3 contingency plans in place as well as an overall plan. So they range from a $51 million budget to a $75 million budget, an $85 million budget, and potentially a $200 million budget, depending on which developments are going around the community. I think that's, and I don't know if you got my email today about the letter of intent, when it was going to be terminated.
We just terminated.
Yeah, I know it should be terminated, but I'm getting it, for sure that's what happened, because that's what Charles wanted to do. He wanted to wait till that was up because we received some information that that time was going to be coming soon. So he wanted to wait before he started getting his feet wet again in the project. So it wasn't a waste of time for him and everybody else. So that's a go then?
What's we
That you terminate it, yeah, I'm making sure for sure, yep. But anyways, so I think we should go within the next 2 weeks, if you give us a chance, get in contact with Charles and get all of his plans into play. And before anything happens up there, I think we should probably go about that route.
I think Andrew is going to, maybe Kent as well, is going to talk about as in our next discussion under the phased approach of just exactly how any development proposals that do come forward will fit within that approach. So
okay.
We'll address those, and I think it'll be clear how developers can be involved in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Cody.
Yep.
All right, we have a resolution on the floor. Is there any further discussion by the council? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Resolution is approved. Second item under B is a discussion about a resolution approving the phased approach to addressing the Regional Treatment Center and authorizing staff and the Legislative Committee to begin working on a legislative strategy to implement this approach. Andrew?
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the council. Back in 2007, when Fergus Falls received the property from the state, we were given $1.1 million and general fund dollars to use as we wished, more or less for holding costs and general maintenance of the campus. And those funds, as of the end of this year, will likely be around $123,000. We spend between $50,000 and $85,000 just simply on holding costs between utilities, staff time, maintenance, et cetera, which means that the funds that we currently have from the state of Minnesota will last through about May of 2019, which really is what puts this conversation at the forefront and with a strong sense of urgency. So we need to begin to develop a strategy for the long-term approach and for our 2018 bonding request. And after meeting with every council member individually over the last couple weeks, I met with staff and we came up with a recommendation to take a phased approach at the Regional Treatment Center campus with 4 distinct phases. And I will direct your attention to the map up here. Phase 1 are the buildings in pink, and that's what we just talked about and just initiated. 30 and 32 should be pink, to make that clear. Phase 2 is the buildings in yellow, which is the gymnasium and the dining hall. Kitchen. Phase 3 would be the buildings that stem out from the main tower. And then phase 4 would be east and west attached. You'll note that the tower, building number 1, is not included in any of the phases and would, regardless of what happens, would be recommended to stay standing. So with that in mind, we need to begin to break this property up into manageable pieces so we can begin to explore what each of those would look like and begin working with SHPO on a plan that would allow us to move forward. So Brian Yavaro, as I mentioned in his previous memo, has cost estimates for all of the buildings if they were to come down. We also have figures for preservation. We just need to begin moving forward with addressing this building through these different phases, which can be worked into that bonding request in 2018. And to the comment from Mr. Sunvor, these phases, we could stop with these phases at any time. So if there was a development proposal that fit into this, we could certainly entertain that, and we could, work within these parameters. In order to entertain a development based on the strict timeline that we're in, we're going to have further requirements to begin that process, including some financial commitments, because we just don't have the time to go 6 to 8 months down the road and have something fall apart because of that urgency that the local taxpayers will be affected as early as May of 2019. So this is a plan that staff thinks we can get funding for down with the legislature. It's a plan that we think is attainable and is reasonable. And so this evening, we're looking for a resolution approving this phased approach to addressing the Regional Treatment Center, and then authorizing staff and the legislative committee to begin working on a legislative strategy to implement this plan through state funding. If this is approved tonight, we'll be meeting as early as the end of the week with the governor's office and other various legislators to begin putting this plan together for 2018. And also we'll be indicating to SHPO what our plans are in terms of phasing this property and addressing it through the identified phases.
Thank you, Andy. Questions, comments from the council? Anthony?
Did you discuss timelines at all, Andrew?
Timelines are tough at this point because everything is contingent on receiving state grant funds in 2018. So the grant dollars would be really the driver behind what those timelines are. So if we get the funding in next legislative session, which would be about May of next year, then we would likely begin to push forward right away based on the availability of those funds.
Any other comments, questions? I think that, as you mentioned, Thursday, the legislative committee, if this is approved tonight, going to get going on this right away. And obviously, there'll be regular updates on how those negotiations are proceeding. And I think it's going to obviously be a work in progress. But this, in my opinion, gets it started. Got to get it started if we're going to get it done. Jim?
I will offer the resolution.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll second it.
Brent? Thank you.
Just a comment, Your Honor, on that the phased approach doesn't preclude our actively going after breaking up into 4 or 5 different areas. So we're looking at the philosophy. The larger philosophy is to make sure, as I understand it, that we have areas that can be developed in parts, and then the phased approach is contingent upon that being approved by SHPO and other things, and however we handle that. So just so people understand, we're going forward. We're not waiting for funding to look at the parts,
Right.
but the phases would be contingent on that and the timeline. Okay.
Yeah, the work will start now, Your Honor, members of the council, to, work to sell this to SHPO and work through that process, but really nothing can materialize until there are funds to spend.
Right.
And the only other thing, real quick, that I want to mention is at the last council meeting, staff was directed to come up with a cost of working with the historic consultant to develop the strategy maintaining that historic designation, and that is ongoing. We are working with Stantec to identify a nationwide firm that would be good in this arena, but don't feel that based on what we've identified as phases 1 and 2, the non-historic buildings, so to speak, that's real pressing at this given time, but it's something we continue to explore.
And I think that's something that obviously I was pretty adamant about at our last meeting. And I really appreciate the work you've done on this, Andrew. And I think that, to me, it would seem that if we get to that point, it would be somewhere between the phase 3 and 4 and then negotiations with SHPO in order to preserve the tax credits as we move forward. Why spend the money until we get to that point? They might come back and say that those tunnels take us off, so let's just, we don't even go down that road until we get there.
You're on. Oh.
Yeah. Anthony and then Lois had a hand up, so go ahead.
No, Lois can.
Lois?
Lois Josephson, 506 South Union. Thank you very much for the reference to the 1.1 million. Mr. Bremseth? Apologies for the laugh when I said that, because one of the pieces that's very much appreciated, in my opinion, is that it's possible for citizens to refer to you as Andrew. And I know that's not necessarily appropriate. So that's what almost came out.
Could be worse.
Yeah, so, thank you for referencing the 1.1 million, and that was dollars given to the city at the city's full discretion for maintenance, marketing, et cetera, of the property. Would like to request at this point that the city provide a complete history publicly of the expenditure of that 1.1 million from the time of its arrival with the city to date, and then going forward to the end, recognizing that there's 125K left in it at this point.
And it's been available publicly.
I have it right here in my hand, so if you would like to see it, send me an email and I'll get you a copy of this. I'm not prepared to present it this evening, but we have all of that in a good accounting form.
Okay, and so any of our citizens could ask for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lois. We have a resolution and we have a second. Anthony?
I had a comment. In this phased approach, one thing that I would like to see is, particularly building number 29, was to see how we could work with the Friends of the Kirkbride and Otter Tail Historical Society on how they could take on board that building and make it either a museum or something as a tribute to the Kirkbride complex. And I don't know, how we do that and legally if we can do that. But I think perhaps that's something, because it's a standalone building they would be able to raise funds for and tap into some either grant dollars or state dollars in terms of doing that. And I'd also kind of ask, is that something that the Friends of the Kirkbride and the Historical Society would in fact be prepared to take on board? It would be one building, less to demolish, but also it would be a building that would make a good momentum of the actual center. I don't know how we do that.
I've heard you say that in the past. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a small enough building, but it's one that
it's a nice building.
It is.
And
in light of that resolution that's on the floor, Your Honor, could we just have that as a motion to take that to the next meeting and then vote on the resolution? Because this is a different subject. Okay.
So we have a
I guess
motion.
to discuss it, yeah, it's worth discussing.
Motion to bring that to the next meeting. Is there a second, Rod?
Well, why don't you vote, why don't you vote?
Do that later, I want to vote
Why
on the
don't you vote on
resolution.
the
I'm just
resolution that's on the
suggesting we
floor,
put it
and
on
you
the
can
side.
Oh, no, I'll make my motion.
You can do that.
Thank you.
Everyone aware, everyone understand the resolution? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Thank you, Andrew. Now, Anthony.
I'd like to make a motion that we bring to the next council meeting a discussion about building number 29 and seeing how that could move forward with the Friends of the Curb Ride and the Historical Society.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second, Your Honor.
Thank you, Justin. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Were we prepared to talk about this phased approach, how it potentially impacts tax credits to this property or any others, or is that not something we're going to discuss tonight?
By the next council meeting, we should have that assessment question about how the neighboring strategy affects this piece.
Good enough. Thank you, Ken. Item number C, Guy, you're going to give us an update on the moisture in the tower and the mold.
Thank you, Your Honor and Councilman. We're proposing to do something similar to what we shown in the photos here, just weather strip and put a door sweep on all the doors that have a connection to the tower building, along with dehumidifiers that are going in the basement and getting windows and doors open to get some airflow through there, hoping to minimize the growth of mold in there. It would be $30 to $40 per door, and I think it's 8 to 10 doors.
Taking action. Good guy. Do we need, we don't
That's
need
just
it.
an update.
You're just telling us that's what we're
Mhm.
doing.
Your Honor,
Thank you,
Your Honor, I
Guy.
got one question for Guy.
Scott,
About the dehumidifiers?
Yes.
Have we isolated so we're not, have so much electricity going on up there? Is there something to be done about that? Or can
It
we
is
do that?
just the center building that's powered up, but with that, it does turn on a good portion of it. I mean,
lot.
it's, yeah.
I just
So
didn't
we
know if
can't
we tried-
isolate
we
it
can't
down any
isolate
further.
it. Okay.
On a follow-up question of that, which Scott reminded me, is there any way we could approach Otter Tail Power and see if we ran them at night, whether we could get like a cheaper rate, you know, off-peak rate? Would it make any difference if they ran at night over
We
the
could check.
daytime?
Yeah, I guess
They're running 24 hours a day right now.
they are.
So,
We still get the off, let's see if we can still get the off.
Your Honor.
Yeah, whether we
Your Honor.
negotiate the rate, yeah.
Your Honor, that's got a 480, I think, feed to it, so I don't think there's no off-peak. It's a
Maybe
real
we
different.
could go with a commercial rate then.
Otter Tail line.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Weird.
The dehumidifiers are keeping that basement area between 60 and 70% relative humidity, so they're effective.
Thank you, Guy.
Okay.
First item under new business is a request to consider a study for a permanent stormwater pumping system. Rod, are you going to
Yeah.
speak to this?
Just so you're clear, that would be at the golf course, right? So, just to add that on. Because there is water that collects because of irrigation out there, et cetera, that has to be sometimes moved, and the solutions have been not long-term perhaps, so I talked to Guy about this a little bit, but the long-term, the best thing would be for us, because we're MS4 city, to make sure we understand how we can permanently or regularly dispose of that or pump that and have it filtered in the way it should be. So it's just a request for staff to look into that.
That's something staff can bring back at the
Yeah.
upcoming meeting. Cost what we're currently doing, or what it costs to have a permit.
Yeah, I talked to Brian about it, so I think it's, yeah. We just need a motion.
Gulf board and everything. We're just gonna look at topography. Okay, so we'll start there.
Okay, good enough.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah.
And the second item, Rod, you brought this up before the meeting, but I think it's an important one, and I've heard it as well, but sound system, if you just want, do you have comments, or do you have a motion that you'd like to make? Or
Yeah, I actually would, because we have kicked this back and forth about the sound system, so I would offer the motion that we ask this to be remedied. And people have commented and finally said, I'm so tired of not hearing some people and hearing others, and the podium mic isn't working the way it should, and I know that we can fix it. It is fixable in-house. I just want us to do it, you know. So I just want to make that a motion so that gets done. And
Is something we'd work with Jim as well? So
Yeah.
to make
I
sure.
actually got a call into a couple of different contractors to look at it. So
Okay.
It's in the process.
Okay. Thank you, Guy.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Good, thank you.
Speak into the mic. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under miscellaneous announcements, there's next council meeting is June 19th, and we'll have a 4:30 committee of the whole at the police department, and then followed by a 5:30 city council meeting. Does anyone else have anything to bring before the council?
Just, Your Honor, I think you had asked me to represent the city at the ribbon cutting for the North Country Trail, the Waters to Prairie chapter, and that happened. And it was well attended, and it was also a very historic moment for Fergus Falls, both that we are a trail town and that we have such a great level of interest. We had people from various offices, DNR, et cetera, Fish and Wildlife, out at the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center. And Fergus Falls needs to know what we have. We really have something here with a 10-mile trail from the National Park Service is an urban loop, but having the trail go through Fergus Falls with our other efforts, it's really wonderful. So get out, hike the trail, and I just want to again say thanks to all the volunteers who made that happen, hard work. That's what built so many things in Fergus Falls. It's not what we sit and decide here, it's individuals who decide they want to work and they come and say, hey, let's get something done. So thanks to all those people again that worked on the North Country Trail.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, Rod, for representing the city out at that event. Anything else come before the council? If not, we will adjourn to a Port Authority.